Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for this event. I'm sure everyone that is still here, you have been impacted today, correct? Your mind has been open, correct? I totally feel that way myself. Before I even get started, can I get a volunteer? It's so funny. I saw your hand back there go up first. Yes. Okay. Clap for the volunteer, because everybody's hands went up so fast. Oh, nobody else did it, right? Okay. So what I would like you to do is make a fist. Okay. I'm going to sit this book on your fist. Okay. Yeah, I want you to try to hold that book with you. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of like shake you up a little bit or move you around or bump you a little bit, okay? Okay, I'm not going to hurt you at all right? No, you open your hand. You got to keep the fist. The book fell. She had a closed fist. The book fell. Now I want you to open your hand. I want you to put just your thumb around that corner there. Yeah. And so it's not falling. And what I want y'all to see is that when we are with a closed fist, our mind isn't open. But when we open our mind, we can hold on to things. And because she raised her hand, she took an opportunity, and that's what got her a free book. You never know what just raising your hand can get you. So I want to share. I'm going to share a couple different things, but I'm going to share right now just a little bit of. I like visuals, and I like to tell it that way, and then I'll come back to the story. So I started this journey of just trying to find out a bunch of different health things to do for myself, and so I was going to this place, and I started doing like this Pilates with this woman, one-on-one, and just learning a little bit. And so when I went in one day, there was a woman that was waiting, and the receptionist said, What are you waiting for? And she said, I'm waiting for the assisted stretching class, the one-on-one assisted stretching. And I was like, And so the woman at the desk said, oh my goodness, when you have that done, you're gonna be a new person. You're gonna feel amazing. I had it done, and I just can't even put it into words. The woman I became afterwards. So I said, I would like to have what she's having. I would like to do that assisted stretch. I was so sold by how, and she just kept talking about it. And I was like, I don't even know what assisted stretching is, but I want that. I want what she said she just had. So I signed up for this one-on-one assisted stretching. So I go in, I get put on this table, and the woman that I'm with, I'm like, I don't know what type of assisted stretching she's gonna be able to do with me, because she's about this big. And she looked like she's a little toned though, but I'm like, I don't know how she's gonna stretch me. So I'm thinking, this lady just said she was amazing and all that. So I'm like, oh my goodness. And I did notice, I started losing some flexibility as I'm getting a little bit older, and I'm like, I'm sure this could be very beneficial. So she puts me on the table and she starts telling me these things we're gonna do. And she says, and as she's moving me, like my arm, my leg, she tells me, when you don't think you can go anymore, let me know. So she goes to move this leg, and when she moves this leg got jealous and started trying to follow it. And so she put her leg in between my leg, and we looked like a pretzel all mixed up to hold this leg over, so this leg was stretched. And so I was like, yep, that's as far as I can take it. And she said, okay, so what I want you to do is just inhale up. And I was like, and she goes, and let it out. And I went, and she moved me further. And through that whole process, every time I moved, and I was like, that's as far as I can go. She goes, okay, inhale up, breathe. And don't you know, every single time during this assisted stretch, every time I breathed, I went further. Every single time. I'm not gonna say it felt good, but I'm gonna say I did. Then there was this one part where she actually stretched my arms and took my hand upside down like this and pushed my fingers. She put her fingers on top of my fingers. Stretched my arm and pushed my fingers back with her fingers. I felt an electricity go up my arm, and she held me there for way too long. I was like, I'm about to tell her to stop. What did she do? Inhale, breathe, and she's pushing. But as she's pushing my fingers, her fingers are with my fingers as she's pushing them. And so we finished this whole thing. I didn't get what that lady said she got. I didn't feel what that lady said she felt. I mean, I felt like I'd been stretched a little bit, but I didn't get that whole euphoric feeling that she talked about. And so at the end of the class, she said, oh, by the way, you might be a little bit sore tomorrow. So the next day, she was right. I was sore. So I didn't have this whole euphoric feeling, but I felt like something was different, but it wasn't the experience that she had had. That's what sold me. That's what I wanted. And I don't know about you all, you may not be like me, but in life, there's things that we see for other people that we want. And when we don't get it like they got it, there's something wrong here. We're disappointed. And so I want to say that about trauma. When she was up here with her fist, trauma can cause you to close up. And trauma did that to me. Not just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Trauma did that to me for over 30 years. When I was a little girl, my dad is a pastor. Grew up in a Christian home, both parents. I don't know what it's like to not grow up with a dad. I had one. I don't know what it's like to not grow up with parents. I had them. Very protective of me, teaching me Jesus, all of those things. But what they didn't know is that we had 3 people in our family that would take advantage of me as a little girl. I was being taken advantage of outside of church. I didn't know if when I was going to church Bible study or at my grandmother's house, which was walking distance from church, I didn't know if I was going to be molested that day. I didn't know when we went on church picnics to Dutch Wonderland if I was going to happen there. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but when I saw those particular cousins, I knew it probably was going to happen. But I had a safe haven to get away from because we would go to Florida every year for vacation. And so when we would get to Florida, I had a cousin that was molesting me there too. This went on for 3 years of my life as a little girl. And I was told if you tell anybody, nobody's going to believe you. And I just kept that in. And for many years, I had issues with God because what kind of God does that to a little girl? I didn't ask for that. We sing this song, Jesus loves me, this I know. Really? Does he? I can't tell anybody what's going on. If I say anything, I'm going to disrupt this whole family. And I was already told I wasn't going to be believed. And here's what happens to a little girl that has a creative mind because God created her that way. A creative mind as a little kid, they come up with stories. And sometimes the stories can be a little lie because they're little. And so if I tell my story, am I going to be believed? So that starts a journey in my life early on. I move on, I end up, there's a bunch in there. It's in my book. I wrote a book. It's called I Am His Daughter, period. Okay? And it's about identity. Identity separate from labels and titles and roles and separate from your trauma. Because when God looks at me, he sees Jesus. I am his daughter, period, and nobody's going to change that. And in the midst of all of that, through all of this, God walked me through identity for a year in 2018. And he brought me to a place where I really finally found a place within myself that I am so at peace because of who he says I am. And so I'm going to give you guys just a taste of my identity statement. And you'll notice that there's no title, there's no label, there's no roles. When I say it, it's me. That's why when I say it, a lot of y'all in here can't be me. Okay? All right, ready? I am a spiritual being uniquely handcrafted and chosen by God to be loved, accepted, and valued as his beloved daughter through Jesus Christ. I'm having a human experience radiating his love as an intuitively creative, passionate, enthusiastic, fun, and loving 5'1" black female. That's who shows up as a wife. That's who shows up as a nurse. That's who shows up as a mother. That's who's standing before you right now. When I'm not being who I'm supposed to be, I can be a little bit judgmental. I can be a little negative. I can be a little nasty. I know none of you Christian people get like that. There's just times where I'm not being who God created me to be because there's something going on. And so God walked me through that year of identity, and I have forgiven the molesters, you guys. I seriously have. I have released that. I don't just pray for them, I pray for the spirit, the evil spirits around them. Because guess what? There's those things going on in their life. Okay, so God gave me that. But what I came to share with you today was after God walked me through that, you ever get to a place where God's walked you through something and now you are just sailing? Man, you're just doing good. Life is great. Matt talked about that. Just life is good. And so I had landed this great job, and I was traveling, and I was in New York at the time. And I had 4 children, and my youngest, she was 18 at the time. While I was in New York, got a phone call. One of her friends was a little bit worried about her, concerned, and so I'm trying to reach her, and she won't answer my calls. The Holy Spirit lets me know something is off. And so I'm sitting in New York in a hotel room, and I call my husband. I'm like, I just found out from one of her friends, she's getting ready to leave her job. When she leaves, she gets home, she's going to be by herself. Never had we gone through anything like this, ever, with her. I just knew she couldn't be home by herself. All of a sudden, she couldn't be home by herself. And so you know when you just feel like you have to go into mode, you got to do something. So I called my cousin, how far away are you from our house? About 20 minutes. I'm gonna need you to get there, but 20 minutes wasn't enough. I knew that wasn't enough, that's too long. Called my husband, you gotta get somebody to the house. He's in Virginia at work, so he calls a friend of his. The friend is about 10 minutes away. I'm like, get him to the house. I'm able to see on the Ring camera my daughter walking up the driveway. She walked from work. I see her walking up the driveway. She walks into the house. 11 minutes later, my husband's friend gets to the house. He gets in the house, and he sees her. She's hanging herself. And all he can tell my husband on the phone is, I found her, I gotta help her, and hangs up. In New York, I find out the same thing, and I have a flight I gotta catch home. I don't know. I know that the ambulance gets there and they take her. And I put this in my book, it's there. Because I'm so thankful that God had walked me through that year of identity, because I don't know where I'd been if I didn't have that. Because my identity was a mother. My identity was a wife. Okay? And so I get home, and I try to go see her. I can't see her. And so what happened? Here's what happened with grief for me. I had plans for this girl. There were things that she was going to be doing. She's a great singer, and like all these plans we made. And it went from all these plans and what she's going to do and who she's going to be to me having a brand new newborn at my house. When she did her 5 days in therapy, I no longer could leave her alone. I didn't trust her. She didn't trust herself. I went from sleeping at night to waking up in the middle of the night to go check on my daughter to make sure she's breathing, like a new mother would check on a newborn. I went from not understanding, in this moment she's sad, but does that mean she's going to try it again? And so my heart goes out to all those who have lost, like Jasmine and Matt, and all those who have lost children or lost people, lost loved ones to suicide. But the grief for me was living it out every day, not knowing which day she was going to pick again. To this day, not knowing if this situation that just happened is going to be the thing that takes her out. Do I need to be quiet and not say anything about this? Because will this tip her over? She's been to counseling, she was put on medication, all of those things went on. And this was in 2021. Just know that when you're being stretched, take the time to breathe. It was said this morning, take the time to breathe. I struggled with God in many ways. I struggled with God, guilt stepped in. I didn't love enough. Denise had talked about our children nowadays. They're like, you weren't emotionally available. Well, the truth is, I wasn't emotionally available. I didn't know how to be emotionally available. Outside of my heart was a wall. I lived that way to survive because I couldn't talk about the abuse that went on in my life. And so I wasn't. So I took that on as like, it's my fault. I put it all on me. And so with all of that, we walked through this whole thing. And these are very difficult times for your marriage, as you heard Matt say. This took my marriage down a path, very difficult path. I got very controlling about what my husband should say or shouldn't say because she's a girl. You got to be careful with her. I became the control person around her that she can't do anything without me around. I'm going to save her. I made myself sick trying to save her. And one day, God said to me, you didn't bring her here. I did. And you can't keep her here if she doesn't want to stay. That was one of the hardest things to hear, but also I knew it was right. Because I'm trying to do everything to keep her here. Everything. And that was the first day of surrender. You know what, God? She is yours. You know what? You made her. You know what, God? And this is what I want us all to remember. When we go through these things, these tough times, these things that happen in our life, we see it right now. But God sees the future at the same time. He sees it at the same time. And so God walked us through that. He's still walking us through that. She has a brother. And really, I became a little bit angry with her because my world just changed. And I'm like, and here's the other thing. We had just experienced losing David 6 months before. And I'm confused. But I will tell you this. That we must remember that God has a plan. There's a verse that says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I used to hear that and be like, shut up. In the midst of my challenge, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear that. But what God has shown me is all things do work together for good. But he never said in that verse that they were going to feel good. He never said in that verse that they were going to look good. But he did say they all work together for good. What Jasmine and Matt had to go through with David, nobody wants to ever go through that. But the mission that they're on is helping everybody up in this room and more. So I'm just going to share, I want to share the testimony of all of that. Because in the midst of going through grief, going through fear, having all those challenges, this same daughter auditioned for Sight and Sound in Lancaster, and she didn't get in. And here we go again. What's this mean? What's this gonna be? How's this gonna work? And guess what? It was more me than it was her. I was scared. I was nervous. I was fearful. So that was last year. She went back and auditioned this year. And she got in. Wait a minute. But she got into the one that's in Branson, Missouri. Do y'all know that's 15 hours away from me? So I'm one of faith. Well, God, I know one thing. We prayed about it. We knew. We both prayed about it. We knew if it wasn't going to be Branson, if it wasn't going to be Sight and Sound, she was going to nursing school. We had it clear. So if it's no, yes. If that's, yes, then that's no. We knew. And so I said, well, Lord, I know what this is. You're testing my faith. So what I'm going to do, Lord, I'm going to pray and I'm going to trust you. Lord, just go ahead and have them realize they made a mistake and she's supposed to be in Lancaster. Because I know Lancaster and I'm close to Lancaster. Heck, I work in Lancaster sometimes. So Lord, just go ahead and do it. That was my prayer. Do it. And then I said, so just go ahead, just send them an email. Just check, make sure that they met Branson. And I'm like, Lord, I'm going to watch you do it. This is going to be a testimony. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm going to be telling everybody. And they came back and they said, no, it's Branson. I said, okay, Lord, you can move mountains. This is a little bit more of a test. Okay, let's see. So I'm just praying and I'm saying, God, Lord, I don't know, Lord. And every time I prayed about this, I kept hearing the Holy Spirit say, she has to go. She has to go. Okay. So the morning after I got the news, I immediately woke up and started looking at apartments in Branson. And I'm looking, I'm like, I'm going to save that, and save that, and save. And really what was happening is, and I heard this in a talk, what was happening is, if you don't bring your emotions to God, your mind will take over the heart's assignment. So my mind started taking over the heart's assignment. My heart was full of fear and sadness. And so my mind started taking over. Let me just go ahead and do and do and do. Let me write and write and write. Let me think, let me think, let me think, let me think, let me do. Because I don't want to recognize these emotions that I'm having right now. So I switched my prayer around and said, God, okay, here's the deal. I am fearful. I am full of fear right now. And I am sad that she's going to have to go that far. This is what she's choosing to do. I'm sad. And this is where God is working with us. The emotion, like he said, like Matt said, the emotions are for you. They're not for other people. They're for you to know that's what you're experiencing. They're for you to go to God about and say, here it is. And so that's been something that's been a prayer a couple times since then. So as she's getting prepared to leave, my controlling self started putting more like, okay, so you're going to be leaving soon, so just stay close. You don't need to go out with your friends. I'm your friend. You don't need to let's just stay close. Like, come home, go to work, come home, be here. And I just want to share with you all, this just happened this week, Sunday to be exact. She sat me and my husband down. She said, first she said, I'd like to have a family meeting. Okay, well, family meeting. What did I do wrong now? So we're gonna have a family meeting. So we sit down for this family meeting, and I just tell y'all what, when we pray and ask God for things, don't always expect that it's gonna come the way you think it's gonna come. She sat us down, and she said, I'm going to Branson. I'm like, yeah, we already know that. And she said, God is calling me to Branson. And she said, am I fearful with it about this? Yeah. And this right here sealed the deal for me. I was so proud of this girl, and it gave, I don't even know. She said, but what I need to tell you, Mom and Dad, is that I have my own fear to carry, and I will no longer carry yours. At 22. My husband didn't take it as well as I did. He just got quiet and did heavy breathing. But I saw my daughter in a different pair of eyes. And after that conversation, I said to her, and one of the things that, we as the older parents, we tell our kids, I've been through things. I've had experiences. Just listen to me. But what experience can do is it can distort your view of faith because you've had experiences. And so when she shared that with us, I said to her, I couldn't be more proud of you today than I'm just so proud of you. I said, thank you. Thank you for calling us out. Thank you for telling us that. We needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. And I said, you might be 22, but I just learned from you today. And so God is always doing something in the midst of our challenges and our grief and our pain and our sorrow and our hurt. He's always doing something behind the scenes. And you may not see it on this side of glory, or you may, but just know that he's always doing something behind the scenes. In the midst of God stretching you, don't forget to breathe. In the midst of God strengthening you, don't forget to breathe. And so I want to do something right now. I want everybody to put their hand on their heart. I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. When I tell people to close their eyes, why do they keep looking at me? Close your eyes. I'm not going to do anything crazy, I promise. Okay, what I want you to do is I just want you to take the time to feel your own heartbeat. I want you to know that you are the most anointed person on this planet to be you. I want you to breathe. Big breath. Inhale up and exhale out. You are purposeful. You have a calling and you have an assignment. That very heart that you hold, through all the pain, through all the brokenness, through all the hurt, through all the abuse, through all the betrayal, through all the confusion, God is holding you even stronger. Allow anything that you've been through, let those ashes be traded over for beauty. And any mourning that you experience or are experiencing, allow that to be for God's glory. Okay, you can open your eyes. Thank you.